This video is going to be much shorter than yesterday's video, but we got some new news/information on Baldur's Gate 3 from a PlayStation blog article that Larian Studios put out. Now, if you missed yesterday's video, make sure to go watch it. This was hands down the biggest news drop that Larian Studios has probably ever done for Baldur's Gate 3. I know that some of you guys probably won't watch it, so let me just tell you the main news. The biggest news is that Baldur's Gate 3 has been pushed up to an August 3rd launch for PC, so almost a month earlier than it was originally planned, and it's been delayed a week for PS5, so September 6th for PS5. Let's get right into it. New details on Baldur's Gate 3 character creation and companions out September 6th. So this article, of course, it's on the PlayStation.blog, has a focus on PlayStation, so it's not talking as much about PC, although most of the information in this article is general information for all Baldur's Gate 3 players. And then, of course, we have our Dragonborn character right there looking so epic. Now, the first part right here, Dungeons & Dragons, is all about player freedom. Is information that I talked about in my most recent video. Nothing really new there. You know, 170 hours of cinematic, 600 spells, more than 600 spells, and things of that nature. But down here, this is the section that I do want to read. Create a character who looks like you or make something completely different. Now, I'll come back to this first paragraph, but I want to start on the second paragraph because this is probably the biggest news, in my opinion, of this particular article, and it has to do with the word that I'm highlighting right there. You steer the adventure. Well, a version of you based on your choice of human, dwarf, Githyanki, elf, drow, tiefling, halfling, half-elf, gnome, half-orc, or Dragonborn. And for those of you that missed my recent video or didn't read community update number 20, which came out at almost the same time as the PlayStation blog, Dragonborn and half-orc were a big part of that community update. But how you appear doesn't define who you are. That's why we have 12 classes from D&D, including Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, that was part of the community update number 20, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, with a total of 46 subclasses. That's freaking awesome, man. Between them for some extra spice and specialization. Or, should you not want to choose, you can create a hybrid class through multiclassing. Now, the last time that we heard Larian mention multiclassing was probably over 4 years at this point during a Reddit AMA for Baldur's Gate 3, where they said multiclassing was going to be in the game, just not in early access, but they haven't said anything about it since, and things do change in a game's development, so many of us were getting worried. Well, worry no more. It pretty much confirms multiclassing is available, I'm assuming, at version 1.0, otherwise they wouldn't advertise it in this article. Now, I won't get too deep into what multiclassing is. I've already done videos in the past and I'll do some more in the future, but just the basic explanation of multiclassing for those that are unfamiliar, you can actually take a level in another class. So if you're a level 5 paladin, when you reach the potential to reach level 6 as a paladin, instead you can take one level in, sorcerer, and then you'd be a level 5 paladin and a level 1 sorcerer at the same time, which is a character level 6, but your class levels are only 5 and 1. You of course get access to, there's some limitations on this, but you get access to most of the features from both of those classes. Now, I guess the downside of multiclassing, the sacrifice that you make, is you won't be able to reach max level in a particular class. So if you're a multiclass of a paladin and a sorcerer, you won't ever be able to reach level 12 as a paladin and get those 12th level features, and you won't be able to reach level 12 as a sorcerer either. So if you took one multiclass in sorcerer, you would be a level 11 paladin, a level 1 sorcerer, character level 12. Now, there are some prerequisites in order to be allowed to multiclass, and that has to do with having a minimum ability score in that class's primary ability score. So for example, clerics use wisdom. That's their primary spellcasting ability. If you're a fighter and you want to multiclass into a cleric, you have to have at least a 13 ability score in wisdom. If you don't have the 13, you're not going to be able to do that multiclass. You either have to put points into it during your ASI increases, or you have to, in the beginning in character creation, make sure that you have at least a 13 in the class that you do want to multiclass into. Sorcerer, you have to have a 13 in charisma, and so on. So multiclassing confirmed. Now, back to the first paragraph. Whether you have the stature of a gnome or the muscle tone of a half-orc, it all begins with a hero. Character creation is such a central part of D&D, and in Baldur's Gate 3, we wanted players to experience the same kind of freedom when shaping their own identity. Who you are, what you look like, and how you want to play is up to you. Define your body type. your age. That's new information. And looks, right down to the highlights in your hair. Baldur's Mouth will be writing about you, so it's important you make a bold impression. And Baldur's Mouth is the news organization, news agency based in the city of Baldur's Gate. And the last line in this particular section says, get as macro or micro as you like. All right, let's take a deeper look at these three beautiful screenshots. And this is, of course, taken from the PS5 version, and when the game comes to Xbox, hopefully sooner rather than later, which I think it's going to look probably very similar on Xbox as well. So this is different than the PC version that many of us have been playing. So on the top here, we have the tabs origin, race, class, background, abilities, skills, and appearance. Pretty much the same as we have it right now in early access. And then you can choose if you want to play as a custom character, your own Tav character. Those of you guys that don't know what Tav means, basically that's like the default name that you're given with your custom characters in early access, and a lot of players end up forgetting to name their character and they're stuck with the name Tav. So when you see Larian Studios say Tav, that's what they're referencing. It's kind of a meme at this point. So you can choose a custom character or an origin character, of which Karlach has now been confirmed to be an origin character, and another origin character is going to be revealed to us at the panel from Hell on July 7th. Now everything else here, except we haven't seen the half orc and the character creator yet. Look how beautiful this is. It gets a little blurry when I zoom in just because it's a screenshot. The half orc looks phenomenal. It looks really good on the PS5, but everything else here we've already seen in a previous gameplay trailer. We have body type, which a lot of us were speculating was like feminine and masculine, identity, and then random character. Although the body type's a little bit confusing. You guys will see why here in a second, because actually on the appearance tab, there's also a body type selection. So let's move on to the next photo. And in this one, we can actually see more of the tabs at the top of the screen. And that's because this particular character has already chosen their race, and then it gives them a sub-race choice here. And Larian's dividing this into tabs, at least on the PS5. I'm not sure if it will be like this on PC. I'm assuming that it will be, but you can see there's some extra tabs up here that we haven't seen before, such as subrace. Subrace has always been in the game. There just never was a tab for it after you chose your race. And then also skill expertise is something that the rogue class gets, and it looks like it has its own tab, which is nice because this organizes things a little bit better when you're creating your character. Everything's not cluttered onto a very few amount of tabs. Other than that, we have some really nice iconography for your class choice, and then it lays it out in front of you, you know, the different features that you get with that particular class. A rogue gets sneak attack, melee ranged, etc. And then onto the final image right here, which is a little bit more confusing because we don't exactly know what everything means. And this is the appearance tab. Look how beautiful this game is. It really is. It really is amazing. I can't wait to play. So for the appearance, we have randomize, which is nice for those of you guys that want to just see some crazy things that the AI can come up with, I guess. Then we have body type 1 out of 4. So why are we choosing body type in the origin custom tab and then also choosing it right here? I'm not entirely sure. There are some theories going on out there, but at the very least, I would say that one of these is male normal, and then male muscular or buff or jacked, and then female normal and female muscular, you know, something along those lines. But the first thing that I was thinking that it could be is if we're choosing like body type back on the custom origin tab, maybe we choose like masculine or feminine, and then over here, depending on if you chose masculine or feminine, excuse me, you then get to choose between 4 different body types. So possibly skinny, normal, you know, chubby, and then muscular. Sorry, having a little bit of a brain fart here. Don't know exactly how that's going to work, but we know for sure that there's going to be at least a few different body types to choose from. We're not going to be stuck with that normal, you know, average looking body. Although I don't think the characters in BG3 are ever average looking. They're actually all quite fit. And below that, we have identity, which is already in early access. Voice, we have 8 choices for the voice. So more voices have been added, which is great. Even though the main protagonist or your character is not really a voice character in terms of reading all the dialogue, there still are some voice lines, and it's nice to know that your character has a voice that you chose as opposed to the game gave you. And then for face, we have 8 different heads here, and that is more than we currently have in early access as well. I'm not sure if this is divided into female and male. In early access right now, if you choose the sex of your character, you're given only the faces that represent that sex. That could be different right now. They might be clunking everything together, but I would assume that we have plenty more faces to choose from And I think you have like 4 to 6 faces for most of the races right now. Now we're seeing 8 right here. So there's definitely going to be more to choose from, which is always good news. And then for skin color, we have 120 choices here, which is just pretty insane. So you guys can go crazy with your character skin color. And then maturity. This is very new to us right now. I love that Larian's putting this in here. I'm not sure how this is going to be, if you can like increase it by 1%, 2%, 3%, or if it's going to jump in like increments of 10%. But we do know that we'll be able to control our character's age, and this looks like the youngest that you can possibly be. I guess this could, you know, be a teenage character or maybe even early 20s. I can't wait. I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait to be a little cliche and create like a really old wizard with a huge beard, kind of like Elminster. And then also freckle quantity, which this character currently has it set at 58%. So there's so much more to the character creator that we haven't seen yet, but we're getting a little bit of a teaser here. I'm assuming we're going to see more in the panel from hell. Also notice this character has earrings, which are not a thing currently in early access. Unless you play as the Wildheart barbarian, you get to change certain subclass features that give you different types of earrings. But in the character creator, this hasn't been a thing as of right now, so this further confirms that there will be like a piercing category that we can choose from. Really cool. Now the next part of this article talks about companions and origin characters, and we have a picture of Jaheira and Minsk right here, both very important characters from the original Baldur's Gate games. These two characters will not be origin characters though. Just to clear up the confusion, origin characters are also companions, but origin characters you can play as your main character right in the beginning of the game. You can play out their story, while companions can be origin characters, but not all of them are. So Jaheira and Minsk cannot be played as your main character, but you can recruit them into your party of 4 or have them at your camp, etc., and play out their quests and learn about their story. Since this is Minsk right here and a new screenshot of him, we might as well take a look at what it actually says. Minsk says, "You must reach what Minsk cannot, the parasite. You can use it to tickle free whatever truth you seek." And then the player character's response to this can be, "Or I could just crack you over the head, see what shakes loose." Or number 2, "You sound reluctant." Number 3, you can use the Illithid tadpole powers on Minsk, which would be interesting to do. And number 4, there's no need for that. We'll find another way. Also notice how the portraits are definitely updated. We did see this previously a few months ago when Larian released some information, but it's really cool to see. Down here we have a description talking about Karlach, which I talked about in my previous video, a confirmed origin character, which is great. I can't wait to see her entire story. I'm very curious how her story is going to work out with her coming from the Nine Hells, or originally coming from Elturel, but then she went to the Nine Hells. And then we have a few paragraphs that I guess I'll read because they are somewhat new. Like a cast die, every decision you make in Baldur's Gate 3 has the potential to alter the course of your story. As you create your legacy, the people of Faerun take note of your actions, chart your adventure, and make their own judgments based on their own inclinations and expectations. The decisions you make in-game have far-reaching, near and long-term effects, but every choice you make is valid. It's your story unless you die. Whatever you did then was probably a bad idea. The really cool thing about BG3 is I think it's taking CRPGs to the next level in terms of, you know, permutations and how the world reacts to you. And actually, no matter what happens in a situation, it's going to be probably high quality content. So even if something doesn't go your way, it's going to lead to something that you didn't expect that should also be quite enjoyable. These decisions also affect your relationships with your companions, whether it's an impish vampire spawn or a beefy archdruid in the middle of a wild shape transformation. That's a reference to Helsin, who has been confirmed to be a companion. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can romance almost all your camp companions. Notice that it does say almost all and not all, and depending on how you interact with them, you may see different romance scenes for several of these characters during your replays. A lot of replayability in Baldur's Gate 3. Relationships in BG3 develop and blossom or grow sour and dwindle just as in real life. They require maintenance and are based on genuine admiration from the perspective of each character's general point of view about the world and your actions within it. So of course, do whatever you want in your game, but I do encourage people to consider save scumming a little bit less in this game, because I think it's going to feel really rewarding to have to work on those relationships as opposed to necessarily just going back and starting the scene over and over again, which is fine. Do whatever you want, enjoy the game, but I encourage people to at least consider trying to play things out. And if something kind of goes wrong and you fail a charisma check, try to win back the love of that character. And I think that's going to be very, very enjoyable and also highly motivating for many players. The dating world in BG3 is your oyster. It is what you make it. We'll give or take a few dice rolls, but we'll leave some of the more intriguing visuals for the Panel from Hell release showcase, which is airing July 7th, where you'll also have the chance to meet our 7th and final origin character. Sorry, I'm not talking that well right now because I've just been working constantly lately, but this is really exciting news. So the big news in this particular update was obviously multi-classing, and then those new extra appearance and character creator options that we're hoping that Larian will expand on in July. So thank you all so much for watching. Many more videos to come throughout the month of July, and of course August, now that the game's coming out in early August. It's jam-packed on this channel, and I'll have every type of content that you can think of, so I hope to catch you guys on the next video.